Hello, everybody. For thousands of years, we lay dormant. Who has disturbed my? Oh, hi, it's you. Yeah, sorry we've been away, complications and whatnot, but we're back. Welcome back to HD Synergy. I am H, he is D, and today we are back with you with a very, very special episode of our podcast, one that I've been looking forward to a while.
Oh, yeah?
Without further ado, let's talk about what I want to talk about. Now, you, the viewer, may be reading the title, but just to spell it out more obviously, today's episode is going to be a retrospective on Transformers, the entire intellectual property, not just the toy lines, but especially all of the cartoons, all of the movies, and a lot of people and a lot of fun facts attached to it.
I do apologize that I'm looking down. I am, just doing the technology stuff right now, making sure
There's no fault with that. There's no fault with that.
I swear I'm engaged. I'm still listening.
Yeah. I mean, multitasking is a very easy thing. I mean, Transformers themselves can turn into vehicles and still manage to
beat up each other.
I was going to say slaughter each other with excessive violence.
Look, we don't know if there's ever going to be kids watching this. Let's graze the gray area.
Yeah, well, kids were for sure watching Transformers when it debuted in 1984. It was under the title The Transformers. The Transformers. That's how you know it's special. The Transformers.
All right.
This was a cartoon that I saw during the quarantine times. Since I had all of the free time on my hands, I may as well just watch the whole thing as it was.
I wish I had that much time, guys. I don't think I had that much time at all. I think I was literally just sitting there most of the time, just working through COVID, because I was making sandwiches during COVID time, I believe.
Yeah, COVID-19 was a creator of idle opportunities. Watching Transformers was one of those for me. It definitely shows its age with its animation quality and a lot of its animation errors.
Yeah.
But it's that doesn't detract from its quality as a whole. The cartoon's entire purpose was to sell the toys Transformers. I was never an avid collector. What about yourself? Did you collect Transformers any?
No. And sad to say, I really just got into Transformers when it was, more realistic for me. I don't know. I couldn't get into like the cartoons, but I know some of the characters, like the main ones.
The main ones.
Sadly. But Transformers definitely made like my imagination more realistic. Like, wow, I never thought of turning normal machinery into aliens, and I always liked the theme song that they had.
Yeah, the theme song. Fun fact about Generation 1, it had 4 different theme songs.
Really?
The first one, the one that people think about the most, that only plays for about 24 episodes. And then they switch into the second version. That's my favorite. It's got more of an enthusiastic beat. The vocals, they're more bombastic. Transformers!
Robots in disguise.
Yeah. What I like about the song is that it tells you what Transformers is all about. Autobots waging their battles to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons. Yeah. The very first episode of Transformers was probably the most trippiest thing I had ever seen in my life. Because at the beginning of the episode, they start on the Transformers all start off on Cybertron.
Yeah.
The Autobots are getting ready to leave their dying home, and the Decepticons are following them just to give them a hard time.
Yeah.
So then they all board on their spaceships, leave for Earth. Then you get this title card saying 14 million years later.
Oh, Jesus.
14 million years later, because after they landed on Earth, all of the Transformers went into sleep. They slept through the entire Stone Age, the entire prehistoric age, right up into modern times. Then they all wake up, the Decepticons are trying to collect Energon, and the Autobots befriend a human boy named Spike Witwicky and his father Sparkplug. Yeah, his father's name was Sparkplug.
That's a bit rough, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Quite an imagination the storyboard writers had there. One of my favorite things about Generation 1 was Megatron's original transformation. Nowadays, he turns into a tank or an attack helicopter.
Yeah.
His original form, get this, strap yourselves in, he turned into a gun that somebody else had to fire. This is the leader of the Decepticons, and you turn into a gun that somebody else has to fire?
And he's the one that says, you load the gun and cock it. And then he's the one that fires it, because he's responsible for the death of Hannah. Mm-hmm. Which I can definitely see that, because if he is going to be the leader, he can be.
He might as well be the weapon, but at the same time, it's really unintimidating. It's so awful. I mean, it's especially awful when somebody else has to fire him. And that somebody else is usually Starscream. He hates Megatron's guts. Why is he trusting him enough to fire him?
I don't know. In Transformer 1, I feel like they definitely explained like a lot more of what was going on. But you guys haven't seen the movie. Spoilers. Give you a few seconds.
Yeah, we're gonna be going deep into the iceberg. This whole thing's gonna be a spoiler warning.
Yeah, but I was slightly confused when they were like, all the cogs were already built into what is their species called?
The Cybertronians?
Yeah, Cybertronians. And then, you can definitely see like what happens if somebody is given the power but doesn't have the will behind it.
The touch.
Yeah. Because, we can all have power or strength. It's just what we do with it will conflict of how our emotions, how our mentality slowly grows and creates either a hero or a villain.
That's the entire sort of basis which the Decepticons and Autobots are. Like, on the surface, you tell them apart by one having a purple sigil, the other having a red sigil, one having red eyes, the other having blue eyes. One turns into a car, the other turns into a plane. That's very surface level difference. The reason they're at war is over philosophy, power over willpower, or vice versa.
Because it's easy to just kill and conquer, but it's even harder to show respect to the enemy.
Yeah. Speaking of respect for the enemy, that led into the halfway point between seasons 2 and 3 of the very first generation of Transformers. In 1986, theaters were blessed with Transformers the movie. That changed so many lives and ruined so many childhoods.
All right, which are we still like animation Transformers?
Currently.
Okay, I haven't seen this, so I'll sit back and I'll let you take over.
Yeah, so 1986 is Transformers the movie. After the end of season 2, this movie flashes forward 20 years, meaning the movie takes place in 2005.
Hey, I was just 4 years old.
Yeah, it's crazy in retrospective, especially since it's all futuristic, but the reason for this flash forward is to shake up the status quo. You see, Hasbro was really liking making toys for Transformers, but they were wanting to make new toys for Transformers.
Okay.
But because they wanted to make new toys, that means that the cast of characters got colossal. So much so that it was getting difficult to keep up with the amount of characters, who was on what side, and what their name was even. So I think you can see where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
The majority of the runtime for 1986's Transformers the movie is spent off killing off season 1 and 2's cast and replacing them with brand new ones.
Yeah.
Like, they're not pulling any punches. The movie even opens up with fan favorites like Ironhide, Ratchet, Prowl, and Brawn getting gunned down by Megatron and the gang. Like, not even Megatron himself, not even Starscream, not even Optimus Prime, not even my favorite Transformer, Wheeljack, were safe from this purge. Yeah.
They just said full reset.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was a complete shakeup of the status quo, leading the Autobots and the Decepticons were no longer Optimus Prime and Megatron, but at the end of the movie, it was Rodimus Prime and Galvatron. Galvatron, I think, is a huge improvement over Megatron.
Yeah.
Personally speaking, Rodimus, you can take or leave. I prefer him as just Hot Rod. A lot of people blame Hot Rod for getting Optimus killed, so they were reluctant to welcome him as leader. They were attached more so to Ultra Magnus, which is why he's been showing up more frequently than Hot Rod and Rodimus.
Okay.
But the reason I prefer Galvatron over Megatron is because, A, he is voiced by Leonard Nimoy, a.k.a. the guy who played Mr. Spock. That Leonard Nimoy, who actually came back later on to be Sentinel Prime in Transformers: Dark of the Moon.
Okay.
Yeah, he was splendid, Leonard Nimoy. The other reason is that Galvatron turns into a cannon. That is hardcore.
A cannon you got hold or just straight
up? A cannon that can fire itself.
You
know what he does when he first transforms? He kills Starscream.
How many times has Starscream been killed?
You'd be surprised.
How does he keep coming back?
In season 4 of Generation 1, he comes back as a ghost. But the biggest things from Transformers, the movie in 1986, aside from this shakeup of the status quo, was the presence of a very specific actor. Have you ever heard of Orson Welles?
No. We all know I'm not good with actors.
Orson Welles, early in his career, when he was about our age, he was the host of a radio station, and he very strategically did a read-through of War of the Worlds during a point in time when he knew people would be turning the channel and listening to him. People mistook this read-through to an actual alien invasion.
Oh, you told me. You said this on the last stream. Yeah, I remember this. I remember this.
Yeah,
okay.
Orson Welles caused what was called the Great Panic. One woman attempted suicide with rat poison. Thankfully, nothing came out of it other than mass hysteria. Orson Welles himself found it hysterical, which he admitted on his deathbed.
Absolutely, it'd be hysterical.
Yeah,
I caused the panic.
People mistaking this book being read through word for word for an actual alien invasion because technology was so unsophisticated at the time. Orson Welles was also the writer, director, and star in Citizen Kane, which is considered one of the greatest movies of all time. So Orson Welles was being brought in for Transformers the movie for his final ever role. This was how he decided to go out. Like, Welles himself didn't think too much of Transformers, but he didn't phone it in either, and they didn't give him a small role to play either. He was Unicron. Unicron.
One of the sevens? Or how many?
Further back than that. Unicron is Primus's brother. Yeah. Unicron, he's the Satan to Primus's god. He eats planets. He's a Transformer that eats planets.
How big is this?
Think about as big as Cybertron. Not big enough. Yeah, Unicron was huge. He's been a mainstay in Transformers from time to time. He even showed up in the latest live-action Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. Unfortunately, his time in that movie was brief, much to my pain. I like Unicron. He's probably my favorite Transformers villain. Like, Megatron is always going to be the main Transformers villain, but if you want to raise the stakes, you got to bring in one of four things. Either the Fallen, Unicron, the Quintessons, or Galvatron. One of those four. Otherwise, only Megatron will do as an antagonist.
Well, I also think, like, getting the same villain does get repetitive. Because we already know,
It's nice to have a shakeup every once in a while, but Megatron is simply an icon.
It is an icon. But I would also, since like we're talking about Transformers 1 as well, I would also like for them to like talk about what their name was during the movie before the whole big event. I'll try to stay vague.
Yeah, but before I leave off from Generation 1, I would like to throw in the studio behind its animation, Toei. Toei Animation.
Why does that sound familiar?
The same studio that brought us Dragon Ball and One Piece.
Oh, wow, really?
The same Toei that's currently working on Dragon Ball Daima, the very last creation that Toriyama Sensei ever gave to us. Rest in peace, big guy.
But what is Dragon Ball Daima? Is it just the like remaster version?
Dragon Ball Daima, nah, it's a brand new story. Daima is actually, I think it's an interim between Z and Super, where Goku and his friends get turned into miniature versions of themselves, and they end up traveling to the demon realm to sort it out. That part I'm really excited about because it had been mentioned by name, but for the past 30-something years, we've never explored it until now. Yeah. Like, we had the Demon King Piccolo, Demon King Gabora, we had Mira and Tora and Dragon Ball Xenoverse,
Don't
but...
forget Janemba.
Can't forget Janemba. Can't forget Janemba. Yeah, we saw a bit of Hell in Fusion Reborn, but not the Demon Realm. Choosing that for Dragon Ball Daima, I think, was a terrific choice by Toriyama Sensei, especially with the decision to not just turn Goku back into a kid, but everybody. That balances us out. That balances everything out so much more than it did in Dragon Ball GT, because after the end of the first saga, when they collect the Black Star Dragon Balls, I was sick of Kid Goku, especially with the amount of screen time and fights he was getting compared to the rest of the staff.
Yeah, it was kind of one-sided.
It was too one-sided, way too one-sided. But moving on with the retrospective, that would lead into 1996 with Beast Wars, Transformers.
I haven't watched that one. That's the last one that I need to watch.
This is something that I've only seen 2 episodes of, but I would like to reflect on its legacy, since it has been so profound that I am even impressed with how much I know about it for how little I've seen of it. So Transformers Beast Wars takes place with these group of Transformers who, instead of turning into vehicles, turn into animals. Yeah. They are led by 2 different factions. Instead of Autobots and Decepticons, it is the Maximals and the Predacons.
Isn't the Predacons like the dinosaur versions? Or?
Yeah. The Predacons were led by a character named Megatron, but not the same individual. I'm kind of mad that they just gave him the same name.
That would have been cool to have a different name, though.
Yeah. Instead of Optimus Prime leading the Maximals, it was Optimus Primal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That is a far cooler name for the situation. But yeah, they did their war in the middle of a prehistoric Earth. So that was their battleground that did a lot. Is with the Predacons, I actually prefer Predaking to Megatron. Mostly because Predaking is far less selfish. He's a little more nuanced. He doesn't seek violence, but at the same time, he doesn't run from violence either.
That makes sense.
And at the same time, he still plots on world domination. So
he's like, I'm going to get this done. I'm just going to take my time doing it.
I really like Predaking. Megatron turned into a T-Rex. Predaking turned into a dragon. And then Megatron later turns into a dragon, but that's besides the point.
What? I thought you could only have one transformation. Well,
you can change your transformations. There's a Decepticon named Blitzwing who turns into a tank and a jet. Yeah, it's a little imbalanced, but beggars be not choosers.
Yeah, I feel like Megatron's definitely, the Decepticons definitely have more of an advantage. Because they're typically...
Considering that they have the entire sky to occupy, instead of the ground that they're standing upon.
Yeah. They're also more violent weapons.
Mhm.
Most of the Autobots are just vehicles.
Yeah, I mentioned Beast Wars especially because I personally consider this one of the biggest pioneers in 3D animation.
Oh yeah.
Before Beast Wars, there was Toy Story and Reboot. That was it. That was it. This thing was a big deal into making 3D animation go mainstream. So mainstream, when was the last time we saw a 2D animated movie hit theaters?
I would have to say, God, nearly half of our lives. No, I wouldn't say half. I would say about 8 years, maybe 9 years.
Well, thankfully, there's one coming in December.
Which one is that?
Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim.
I'm not going to watch it. I was like, I don't watch Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I don't anticipate myself watching that at the theaters, but I'm just glad that there's some diversity with all of the 3D animation we've been seeing in theaters lately.
Yeah.
Like, I think Beast Wars Transformers did too much for the medium for its own good. Yeah.
But the thing is, with 3D animation, that's only because our technology is growing and growing.
Yes.
So it's becoming more modern. So it's
also becoming more stylized. We got stuff like Spider-Verse and Arcane to thank for that.
Yeah. So we're all just getting more used to seeing the 3D animation, the 2D animation. And then, one day we'll have 4D animation.
Speaking of Arcane, did you see how that ended?
No. I have to rewatch.
Then I'll say nothing.
I have to rewatch all of Arcane.
I will say nothing about
I'll rewatch it with my partner.
I will say nothing about it.
She's wanting to watch that, so I'm just like, well, she started watching it, so I'm gonna rewatch it with her. We'll put that in a pin note if you want to put that in the doc.
Yeah.
For next live stream, which we gotta talk about that, but we'll do that off camera. Is there any other topics you want to hop on?
Something that happened after Beast Wars Transformers was a rights dispute that Hasbro had with its distributors. They actually lost the rights to use Bumblebee in Transformers adaptations. So that led into cartoons like Transformers Robots in Disguise, Transformers Armada, and Transformers Energon, into needing to feature, once again, new sets of characters.
Without Bumblebee.
But as soon as that rights issue was dissolved, they got obsessed with using him.
Heck yeah.
They got obsessed with using him. That was why he was the main character for the entirety of the live-action movies that Michael Bay wrote and directed. Okay. Speaking of that, we should probably talk about those a bit, as much as I've been reluctant to. But this is a retrospective. Leave no stone uncovered.
We'll try to cover as much as we can.
We'll cover as much as we can with whatever we can.
Yeah, but I'm like, Bumblebee is such an OG. I don't know if I have ever talked to a person that doesn't know Bumblebee.
Bumblebee is an icon. Fun fact, the habit of Bumblebee not being able to speak in whatever he stars in, something that I'm glad went away. That started with the Bayverse movies. That started with Shia LaBeouf starring as Sam Witwicky in Transformers 2007. Not to confuse Sam Witwicky for Spike Witwicky. Those are two different characters, completely different characters. The movies kind of got formulaic after a bit. I like that they brought back the original voice actor for Optimus Prime, Mr. Peter Cullen, and eventually Frank Welker, the original voice for Megatron. Frank Welker, that guy's got a diverse portfolio of voices. Like, he's been in just about everything. Did you know that he's also the voice for Scooby-Doo?
Huh.
Yep.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Recepticons, raise it! Yeah, stop while you're ahead. Stop while you're ahead. But no, I mean, like, being a voice actor, it seems simple, but I can also see it definitely being a lot hard because it's a lot of strain of putting your voice in through different ranges. And
it's not only what you say, but how you say it and why it's being said. There's a lot of purpose going into what's being said, and Transformers has had a big array of voice actors over its years. When it comes to high-profile ones, in 1986's Transformers the movie, not to backtrack too much, they not only had Leonard Nimoy and Orson Welles, but they also had Eric Idle. He was a part of Monty Python and his Flying Circus. He starred in movies like The Holy Grail and Life of Brian. He has a very recognizable voice. They had Judd Nelson in there as Rodimus Prime. He's got a pretty high profile. They had Hugo Weaving as the initial voice for Megatron in the first three Transformers movies. They brought Leonard Nimoy back as Sentinel Prime, as I've mentioned, but I also wanted to take a moment to eulogize Tony Todd, who played the Fallen in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, and who later came back for Transformers Prime as the Decepticon Darkwing. He had a big body of work, and I was such a huge fan. It broke my heart so badly when he died. He was only 68.
Bro, okay. A lot of voice actors are disappearing, and it is really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Well,
if I had a voice like Tony Todd's, I would never shut up. I would never shut up.
Hey, but you got a voice of a demigod, all right? You take care of
any
that
character
voice.
he ever played, any scene he was ever in, he stole the show. Not just as the Fallen and Darkwing, but he was also the voice for Venom in Marvel's Spider-Man 2.
Really?
Yeah, there were apparently what we got in the game was only about 10% of the voiceover work he did for them, but I guess 10% of that was all they could afford of Tony Todd, much to my chagrin. he was flawless as Venom, and you give me only 8 minutes worth of cutscenes.
Look, time is money, man. Time is money, especially if you got voice of a god.
I feel like Insomniac was put into a situation where they had to crunch a lot just to get the thing on the shelves, but there were a lot of assets found in the files that were unused, environments were a lot more destructible when you actually got to play as Venom. There was supposed to even be a multiplayer mode to that game.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That would have been fun.
Yeah, Tony Todd, I think, is best known for his role as Candyman. There was a trilogy of movies and requel later on. He starred in all 4 of them as the same character, Daniel Robitaille. Candyman, contrary to its reputation, isn't an ordinary slasher horror movie. It's much more psychological, much more methodical. It's a slow burn. The guy doesn't even show up on screen until you're an hour in. And yet his entire on-screen presence is so commanding. You feel like he's been there the entire time.
Just subconsciously in your mind.
Be my victim. It's funny because he has bees on his chest.
Yeah. I never really watched Candyman. I should have watched the newer movie.
Yeah, I would only watch the original and the reboot. Just leave out Candyman 2 and 3. You're doing yourself a favor.
Well, that might be fair, but gotta give all a movie a chance.
Yeah, the reboot, as much as I liked a lot that was going on with it, it got a little too heavy-handed with its themes. It felt less like the themes were being portrayed and explained, and it was more like it was beating you over the head with it. There's an art and subtlety,
Yeah.
It didn't help that the reboot only has about 94 minutes of runtime, which for a movie is preposterously short these days. Yeah, you're gonna get some serious whiplash watching Candyman 2021. The first one's probably the best far and away. I recently found out that the guy who wrote the story Candyman was based off of wrote and directed Hellraiser 1 and 2.
Really?
Mm-hmm. His name is Clive Barker. And if there was anyone in the entire world, anyone at all, whose life I'd gladly switch places with, it'd probably be Clive Barker. The guy's done everything that I would ever want to do with my life. Quite literally everything. I mean, imagine putting your time, effort, and imagination into creating a story so enthralling that you have the opportunity to direct its adaptation and do it flawlessly. Like Hellraiser goes 1-for-1 with its book Hellbound Heart. But without getting too far off topic, I wanted to bring in the retrospective to two more things, namely Transformers Prime in 2013. Actually, I don't want to leave... there was another cartoon in 2007 called Transformers Animated. I don't want to leave that going unmentioned.
Yeah, I believe I watched that one before.
Yeah, it debuted around the same time as Michael Bay's movies was getting traction. Yeah, it starred a young Optimus Prime who was really green. Funny enough, the voice actor for Optimus Prime in this did Megatron in Beast Wars.
so he went from one team to another.
He went from the Predacons to the Autobots.
All right. Well,
yeah, he traded places. On the subject of voice actors, the cast was rounded out by Ratchet, Prowl, Bumblebee, and Bulkhead. Bulkhead was played by the voice of Patrick Star from SpongeBob. Bulkhead would later return for Transformers Prime, in which he'd be voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson. I'd like you to find something that guy hasn't been in. He has a huge profile. I was gushing about Frank Welker earlier. That's nothing compared to Kevin Michael Richardson. But I haven't even talked about the Decepticons yet. This has my favorite iteration of Starscream. He's played by Tom Kenny. He's the voice of SpongeBob and the Ice King from Adventure Time.
Yeah, I kind of did realize that SpongeBob and the Ice King from Adventure Time sounded similar.
Well, he's also Starscream.
Oh, I did not know that. Hi, guys. Thank you for stopping on by. Yeah. Please make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Back to the topic.
Yeah. Megatron in Transformers Animated had my favorite voice, though. He was played by an actor named Corey Burton. In the original Transformers, he was the voice of Spike Witwicky, the original human ally to the Transformers. Now he's voicing the leader of the Decepticons. He was also the original voice of Shockwave, who's probably my favorite Decepticon, mostly because he doesn't operate on emotion. He makes every decision based off of logic, which, if you know, making a logical decision without any emotional temperament
may not be the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You'll do a lot of unethical things. I once saw this video. Well, I didn't see its video, just its title. There's Satan, then there's Shockwave.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, Corey Burton was also an understudy to Sir Christopher Lee, who, that guy has a pretty big rabbit hole for an actor. But Transformers Animated, one thing I wanted to mention is that it had two different theme songs. One that debuted in the States, which was pretty much a cover of the original Transformers theme, More Than Meets the Eye. It was a fun listen to. Then I heard what it was like in Japanese. You remember how I was talking to you about Jam Project?
Yeah.
They did the first two openings for Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
They did both openings for One Punch Man. They sang Soldier Dream for Saint Seiya. They did the opening for Transformers Animated's Japan broadcast. And as an American, I feel cheated. The name of this song is Transformers Evo. I'm going to play that to you after the stream ends.
All right.
I'm going to play that to you after the stream ends. I'd be happy to play it all for you here. I'll just leave a link because if I play it on you here, we are getting nuked. We are getting nuked. We are getting nuked if I play Transformers Evo. But I'd also like to talk a bit about Transformers Prime. This was my favorite Transformers cartoon far and away. Not only did it use 3D animation like Beast Wars did, not only does it look more aesthetically pleasing than all of them, I think this is the prettiest Transformers of all time. But they also brought back the original voices for Optimus Prime and Megatron. Back at it again. This was... I think 30 years after they did it for the first time.
Wow, why did they wait so long?
It's I don't know. I mean, both guys love doing the roles of Optimus Prime and Megatron, respectively. Cullen and Welker have been doing it since the 1980s, for Pete's sake. But this was the first cartoon since the original where both were available at the same time. Like they got Cullen back for Michael Bay's movies, but they had Hugo Weaving in for the first three in the role of Megatron. I love Hugo Weaving. He's a splendid actor. He's a actor.
I don't know what an actor is.
He's a splendid actor, but Frank Welker is the man with the reputation and the legacy as Megatron's voice. So having both of them here in my favorite Transformers cartoon, where I think both characters are at their most textbook, that is profound. That is profound to me. Like, they didn't even mince on celebrities getting involved in this. Get a load of this. Get a load of this. Cliff Jumper. He's an Autobot with, he turns into a red car. He has these bull horns.
Yeah.
So imagine my surprise when I watched the first episode and he's voiced by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
No way.
I'm not kidding you. They got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to voice Cliff Jumper.
I mean, he is a good voice actor, but it's also like a more familiar voice actor you would definitely know without looking at anything. That is so crazy.
And then Cliff Jumper, he dies 5 minutes into the show. They could only afford 5 minutes of The Rock. And they killed him off immediately. Oh, they didn't just kill him off. They had Megatron bring him back as a zombie and attack the Autobots. Then they kill him off again.
They did him dirty.
Oh,
They did The Rock so dirty.
justice for Cliff Jumper, man.
No justice. Let him burn in the ground in peace.
Let him burn in the ground in peace. Yeah, that too. They also got in Michael Ironside, if you've ever heard of him. He was the voice of Ultra Magnus. They got Josh Keaton, one of my favorite voice actors out there. He's my favorite voice for Spider-Man. They got him as the main human companion, Jack. He was in the middle of this. The entire plot initially started with Megatron raising an army of Transformers zombies and invading Earth with it. It was insane.
Okay, how do we even get to Transformers zombies? Because don't they run on the energy called...
Energon?
Yeah, Energon.
Oh, that's simple. Dark Energon. What? I can explain. So Energon is the lifeblood of all Transformers, and it is the blood of Primus.
Yes.
Dark Energon is the blood of Unicron, his brother.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, they should definitely do it like a movie with Dark Energon being introduced into it.
Don't you think I want that so bad?
That would be so cool to just see that, though.
Give me that for Transformers 2. Give me Unicron. Give me Dark Energon. Give me the Quintessons. Save Galvatron and Rodimus Prime for the third movie if you make it. Give me that.
And then they could bring back Megatron as a zombie. Oh, I'm cooking.
They do that.
What?
Yeah, at the end of Transformers Prime, Bumblebee kills Megatron with the Star Saber. He stabs him through the heart. Then you get to Transformers Prime's movie, Rise of the Beasts.
Mm-hmm.
That's not Predacons Rising. Yeah, Rise of the Beasts. That was the movie that released last year in live action. No, completely different than Predacons Rising. Predacons Rising was about the Autobots finally returning to Cybertron and bringing the planet back to life. Meanwhile, Megatron, who was stabbed in the heart, he gets resurrected by Unicron. Unicron uses him to do his bidding. Ordinarily, this is Megatron turning into Galvatron, but instead it's Unicron possessing Megatron as a zombie and tormenting both the Predacons, the Decepticons, and the Autobots.
Yeah.
So all three of them.
Yeah, it's a lose-lose situation for that whole team.
My favorite thing about Transformers Prime was definitely Predaking. Like, I was mentioning how he was my favorite Predacon and how he was characterized. He never really got a chance to shine until Transformers Prime. He's probably one of my favorite villains in the entire property. He's not on Shockwave's level of evil, but he's interesting, you know?
Theoretically, Shockwave isn't technically evil. He's just doing logical things.
Yeah, he's just doing what's logical. It just makes sense, don't you know? Mass genocide, it just makes sense.
Hey, look, I don't want to
turning Transformers into dinosaurs, it just makes sense, don't you know?
We have a Transformer dragon! Don't talk about We're not going to look over all of that.
I forgot to mention, Predacon the Prime continuity is Shockwave's creation. The entire Predacons, they were his experiments. The Dinobots, Grimlock, Snarl, Swoop, Slag, Sludge, they were all his creations too. Although in the original continuity, this was retconned into being Shockwave, but originally they were Wheeljack's creations. Wheeljack is my favorite Transformer because he's the intellectual. He's the first Transformer we ever see, and fittingly enough, it's the one who knows what's going on. Like, I consider him and Shockwave nemesises since they're both scientists. Yet one of them's just someone trying to do the right thing, and the other one's, well, Shockwave.
Well, Shockwave.
Shockwave.
You can't top Shockwave. You can't top Shockwave.
Even though it wasn't released theatrically, Predacons Rising was actually the first animated Transformers movie since 1986's Transformers the movie. It had been nearly 30 years, but they got there. They got there.
Okay, off-topic question. When do you think they're going to release another Transformers game?
Another Transformers game? It's been a long time. There was a duology meant to be trilogy called the Cybertron trilogy. You had War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron. Mm-hmm. I preferred War for Cybertron because you could take control of a party of 3 Transformers at a time. You start off as the Decepticons, Megatron, Soundwave, Breakdown, Shockwave, Starscream, and the gang. And then you get to play as the Autobots, Optimus Prime, Wheeljack, Bumblebee, Ironhide, RC. And I think that played a large part in what they were basing Transformers 1 off of, since this takes place at the very beginning.
Yeah.
All right, it's finally time to talk about the one that we saw together, Transformers 1. If not for Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, I would be hailing this as the animated movie of the decade.
Really?
I cherish it. I think so highly of it.
Yeah, you are right. Puss in Boots animation was definitely a lot better, but
yeah, Puss in Boots had the whole that had its entire theme carrying it very much so.
And, like, the title itself, yes, is like what they're doing, but they show a way of not engulfing the whole movie into their one objective. Yeah. The entire movie. For Transformers 1, I think its plot outweighs its themes and messages. With Transformers 1, I think what draws it to me best, what makes me feel as amazing as I do about this movie, is what compels me most is some of my favorite stories, period, are the rises of heroes and the falls of heroes. Transformers 1 does both at the same time, simultaneously, flawlessly. What was the biggest rise of the heroes in that movie?
Probably the creation of the Autobots itself, Orion Pax's gradual transformation from a lowly little miner into Optimus Prime. If you even pay attention to how he speaks, he starts to speak with the sort of emphasis that Peter Cullen would give his Optimus Prime. Kudos to Chris Hemsworth. He was far better at being Optimus Prime and Orion Pax than I anticipated.
Isn't that Thor?
Yes, he is.
Yay!
Yes, he is.
Look at me learning my actors.
You're learning your actors. He's growing, everybody. We should be proud of him.
I'm really terrible. He's been with me for a good time.
It's fine. It's fine. That's why I'm here.
Look, in my defense, if you would have shown me a clip, I'd be like, yeah, he also voices this person. But it's just knowing it off the top of my head, that's a no-go.
Yeah. On the other side of it, you have D16's gradual decline into becoming Megatron. This is probably the greatest hero to villain story I've seen since Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, which is my favorite Star Wars movie. Like, I think it's very comparable to compare D16 and Anakin Skywalker to one another because their entire foundation, their entire philosophy, every single ethic and moral that they have is irreparably shattered by a revelation.
But the
Like
thing is,
in Anakin's case, it's a want to prevent a future that he is terrified of. In D16's case, when he becomes Megatron, it is the revelation that someone that he had idolized and looked up to had been pulling the rug over his head and essentially been
manipulating him.
Yeah, manipulating him just to pay off rent to the Quintessons.
Yeah, and I'm going to follow up on that. I feel like Megatron also realized that strength is power and power is strength.
Mm-hmm.
He just clicked. It's like, no more backing down, no more like trying to follow someone's lead. He's going to do his own thing.
After that revelation, he wouldn't follow anyone's lead but himself.
Yeah.
My favorite part of the movie is one the filmmakers call The Fall, in which his eyes finally go from yellow to orange to pure red. Pure red.
Oh, it was so good to watch, I'm not going to lie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like there's hardly any dialogue in between, why did you do that? And I'm done saving you.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's hardly any dialogue, but at the same time, you look at him and you can tell exactly what he's thinking. At first, he's in complete shock. He didn't mean to shoot Orion. He was trying to shoot Sentinel. Then he realizes, wait a minute, why is Orion taking a shot for Sentinel? The shot was meant for Sentinel. Sentinel is the bane of his existence. He has been exploiting their labor just so he can live a life of luxury. Why is he protecting him? That's not justifiable anymore, so he gave up on Orion.
Yep.
And that... Oh.
And then they got captured, which then was like a power of strength, which they slowly learned. Actually, not even slowly. They quickly learned. Quickly learned who has all the might.
Mm-hmm.
And then all he had to do was let go of hope.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was tired of saving it.
Yeah.
Ooh, I think that's
when it comes to the developing of characters, the filmmakers did something special with Optimus Prime and Megatron here. Like, it's really hard to truly grip an audience strongly enough to be heartbroken, but I think they found a terrific way to do that by seeing a pure friendship and then decaying that until they become mortal enemies. Yeah. Like, Megatron at the end of the movie is irredeemably evil, and that's so sad because you saw how he was at the beginning. Like, he was plunky, he was ambitious, he was happy.
Yeah, he was fine with his job. He was working.
He was content, and Orion was always seeking adventure, wanting to do more to help people, but at the same time, it was taking them away from where they were, what they were supposed to be doing. The revelation that what they were supposed to be doing was a complete pathetic sham, just that they had been living under somebody else's heel. That, I think, had a profound impact on both of them. Like, in the case of Optimus, he sees a path to lead more righteously. In Megatron's path, he sees a way to lead utterly. Like, it's a small distinction, but it's hard enough for both to end up at war with each other for the next 40-something years.
Yeah, for real. And, okay, what was the funniest moment in Transformers 1 for you?
Man, as a drum.
Oddly enough, mine is also with Bumblebee.
Yeah, Keegan-Michael Key, I think, was casted well as B-127 before he became Bumblebee. I like that they made Bumblebee talk as much as they could, since, as we know, more often than not, he ends up mute for some stupid reason. That was how he wound up in 2007's Transformers. That's how he wound up in Transformers Prime. That's how he wound up in 2018's Bumblebee. After they cast Dylan O'Brien to voice Bumblebee, you're going to just make him mute? Are you kidding me?
But my funny moment was when he was slashing around and he was like, "It was like this already."
It was this. It was like this already,
wasn't it? Yes. Like this.
Yeah, the fact that he went from this bumbling buffoon to a weapon of mass destruction—that was a sight to behold. Yeah, his character development's also noticeable, but far less understated when comparing him to Optimus and Megatron. And that's not even to speak ill of Alita One's character development. Oh, speaking of character development, that could bode bad for her in the future.
Oh, why?
Well, more often than not, Alita 1 goes through this transformation. You know how I said Shockwave created the Predacons?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he turns Alita 1 into a Predacon. Yeah, turns her into a Predacon called Black Arachnia. She's a spider robot.
Yeah, we
saw Arachnid in Transformers 1. She also shows up in Transformers Prime. They're completely different. I used to think they were the same. They're completely different. Arachnid, she turns into a helicopter.
Yeah.
Black Arachnia, she just turns into a massive spider.
Oh, okay, but... why? Transformers, why?
Yeah.
They can't be more creative.
Mm.
A giant snake would have been cool.
A snake Predacon would have been awesome. Alas, I don't think that there is one.
If there is one, they should definitely do a movie about it.
If there isn't one, make one. Give us a new character. Come on,
Yeah.
Hasbro. Come on, Hasbro. You are willing to kill off half of Generation 1's cast just to make some new toys. Just as an excuse for it.
Just push the reset button again. Just... And I mean, like, how long do
Cybertronians can live a freaking eternity, but they do have limited lifespans. I can't remember if there was ever a Transformer who died of old age, but they don't live forever. Like I said, the Autobots and Decepticons went to sleep through the entire prehistoric era up until modern times.
Which was like, how many?
14 million years. 14 million years.
And they were still in their prime when they got out?
Yep. They were up and at 'em.
Yeah, so I'm not expecting to see, like, baby Transformers like how we see in the live action, like Baby Rex.
The mini-cons. The mini-cons.
Because I'm like, I would love to see, like, how they are actually made or born, or however you want to go about that.
Yeah, how is a Transformer born? Do they hatch from eggs? Do they
just rise from Cybertron?
Do they copulate?
No. No.
Probably not.
Hopefully not.
Actually, oh no, I just remembered something.
Oh no. Do I want to hear this?
Did you remember me mention the Autobot Brawn?
Yes.
Yeah, well, Transformers once did a crossover with G.I. Joe. I hope they make a movie about that soon, but Brawn got really friendly with one of the cast members of G.I. Joe.
No, we're not going there again.
And they had a human child.
Wouldn't it be more of a cyborg?
I don't know how, but it's a completely human child. Science says it should be impossible, but gosh darn it, they found a way.
My guy, science says a lot should be impossible, but the human brain and willpower is very stupid enough.
It is limitless.
Yeah, for real. It's stupid enough to try to make something possible. And sadly, we really shouldn't be making it possible.
There was one of two things that, in my eyes, kept Transformers 1 from being a perfect movie.
All right, what's that?
The first thing would have been featuring Stan Bush's song The Touch, which was featured in 1986's Transformers the Movie, featured in the 100th episode of Regular Show, and the artist Stan Bush, he loves coming back for Transformers. He loves it so much. The Touch is one of my favorite songs of all time. The entire soundtrack to the 1986 movie I listen to constantly. He also had a song called Dare Until All Are One for the game Fall of Cybertron. He came back for that. I wanted a Stan Bush song in Transformers 1 so badly. It was the 40th anniversary. I've even seen some edits. I even made an edit of the final fight between Optimus and Megatron featuring the touch. That would have been a perfect moment for it. It even syncs up perfectly. When Optimus is using the flamethrowers, the lyrics go, "Take the heat. Take the heat."
Is that on your channel?
It was on my Snapchat feed.
Okay.
I'll repost that after this.
All right, make sure you go. Well, I don't know if you want to bring the people on this now. Don't do that.
It's fine.
I was like, nah. You just re-upload it on your YouTube reel. And then you guys can go check out his channel, which is
The Dude. We'll leave links in the description for our channels. Lately, I've been doing a couple of playthroughs. I did one for Final Fantasy Type 0, which is probably the most underplayed and underappreciated game in the entire franchise. I've been posting just about every cutscene in the game on my channel. I've also been playing through Star Wars Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy. I've been live streaming Batman the Telltale series.
You've been live streaming?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I missed that.
And when I'm finished with Batman the Telltale series, I'm going to live stream Final Fantasy 15, every hour of it.
Let's go. I'll join you. You let me know when Final Fantasy 15 is going to be live streamed. We can live stream at the same time.
Yeah.
I'll show you how to do like a share screen on Party Chat.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have headphones yet?
No.
We gotta get you some earbuds.
Yeah, Christmas is coming up.
Yeah, I was like, we gotta get you some earbuds at least.
Yeah, but the other thing that would have made Transformers 1 a perfect movie in my eyes also would have been a feature track from Linkin Park. They've been coming back for Transformers every now and then since 2007. The credits for that movie, that was featured with What I've Done. They made New Divide exclusively for Revenge of the Fallen. I would have loved to have seen them come back for Transformers 1, especially now that they've been making music again and touring again. It's been a bit controversial with the change in Chester's absence, with him claiming his own life. I like Emily Armstrong's voice. I think she's going well with the music she made, but
it's not the same.
It's not that it's not the same, but there's a bit of a grain of salt I got to take with this. Emily Armstrong, she has two very unfun facts about her. Number one, she was defending Danny Masterton during his sexual offense trial. Danny Masterton was an actor on that 70s show. He had a very public trial for a sex offense. He's convicted now. He was being defended by a lot of people in the Hollywood elites, much to my annoyance. It is innocent until proven guilty, yes, but at the same time, wait for a verdict, because he might be guilty, which he was. Emily was defending this man in spite of all of that. And more controversially, she was a part of the Church of Scientology. I don't know if she still is, but she was.
I have no idea what that is.
Scientology is a gigantic cult that a lot of Hollywood elites are involved in, namely the likes of Tom Cruise, John Travolta. South Park did an entire episode on Scientology in which they hired a private investigator to go all the way in and learn all of its secrets, what they're actually teaching people, and then tell it to the world. That's what they did with their Scientology episode. Yeah. They had that pulled off the air for a while because their cast member, Isaac Hayes, was a Scientologist. And he took offense to that, which is kind of hypocritical considering South Park had also made episodes on Buddhism, Mormonism, and Christianity all the time. Nothing is off limits for them. Why should Scientology be? But Scientology, they have a mafia-like way of getting people to do what they want. Like Isaac Hayes' son said that his father's leaving the show wasn't voluntary. Like he was being pressured and threatened. It was an ugly mess. Like Matt and Trey have essentially gone on record saying they don't blame Isaac at all. They blame Scientology, but Scientology is a scam because you have to pay in order to learn what they're preaching to you.
So you're willingly going
you
into
You have to give them your money in order to read from their scripture. And get this, Scientology was founded by a science fiction writer. Yeah.
Gosh darn it.
Here's the controversy with Emily being a Scientologist. Not only are the church's practices a little unethical, but they are notorious for being mental health deniers. This is a huge problem when you consider that Emily is filling in for a suicide victim. That bugs me a lot. Like, I've liked some of the music that they've released with her. I think she has a good voice for their music, but it's really hard to let this slide, you know?
I understand. Yeah. Because you guys, if you really are suffering from mental health, it is not something to take on.
Do not be afraid to reach out to people, no matter what.
As like, I am struggling with mental health, and this is a little personal, but I have been in behavioral health care before, where they, take away any objects that may cause harm to oneself or others. And I've been in there for a few days before, and I still suffer from it from time to time. I have such a great friend, have other great supports.
Yeah.
Just make sure you find someone that truly understands and will listen, because that is the most important.
It's important. Get help like Chester was needing.
All right. Let's change the topic to a little bit happier now.
Yeah, that got a little too real.
A little too heavy.
Too real.
Put the pressure on my chest on that one. Any new animes are you watching?
Let me think.
Come on, man. There's been a lot of animes released.
There's been a lot of animes releasing. I've been putting off from Daima because its English broadcast is going to bring back the reprisal I've been waiting for a long time. Stephanie Nodelny, the original Funimation English voice for Goku as a kid. She did the entirety of Dragon Ball. She also did Kid Gohan and Teen Gohan. Stephanie Nodelny is actually my favorite voice for Goku. She is going to be reprising her role as Goku for Dragon Ball Daima.
Let's go!
That means so much to me because it's been over 10 years.
Look, a lot of things take a long time.
It's been 10 years since Stephanie Nodelny's been Goku, and that means so much to me. She's coming back. She's doing it for Akira. She's doing it for the boys.
You know something? I'm gonna push your button a little.
Push.
What do you think about Rooster Teeth finally getting disbanded?
I feel nothing.
You feel nothing?
I feel nothing.
I would have thought you would have felt joy after it all happened. If you guys haven't known that, we're gonna have a whole different episode. Maybe just a small video of like.
We might have to save an entire stream exclusively for Rooster Teeth, but some of the main things with Rooster Teeth, I liked Red versus Blue up until the season where they started introducing these weird god characters. That kind of took me out of it.
I haven't got that far. I've really been watching like the reels of Red versus Blue, which is really funny because they take the best clips and just.
Yeah, I kind of just punted it after season 13. Season 13 is a perfect place to stop watching.
Christ, how many seasons are there?
Too many.
Yeah, definitely. If you got season 13, if we're doing 12 episodes each.
Yeah, but each season as a whole, that's only about like 3 hours, 13 hours worth of footage.
Okay, so we got 13 seasons, 3 hours for each season, right?
Yeah, 3 hours for each. Yeah, that's more than 13 hours.
You are way... My God!
Relax, I didn't binge. Okay.
Good gravy.
Yeah, but Red versus Blue, that's just besides the point. There was also Ruby. I kind of gave up after two things. I learned a bit about the late Montium, the series creator and animation director. The heads of Rooster Teeth were really... They were really restricting his creative freedom. Like it was to the point where they would replace some of the ideas he had for the story's trajectory with their own, which they would do for the rest of the series after the poor guy passed away. But It got to the point where they wouldn't let him bring in his own wife to be a part of the production. Like,
What? That would have been such a great.
it would have been so
incident.
sweet. It would have been so sweet.
Ah,
Yeah, I feel so bad for poor Monty.
and they never finished Ruby, by the way,
Yeah, they never finished Ruby.
which I'm really upset about.
But the straw that broke the camel's back was the way they treated Vic Mignogna, the voice for Uncle Crow.
Yeah,
hmm
I knew that one.
One accusation of sexual misconduct. Not even proof, not even a case, just an accusation was enough to throw him under the bus and fire him. That boiled my blood. I was in tears when the news broke.
Especially since they were just building up. I was like,
Just guilty until proven innocent.
because they had new people coming in, the company was growing bigger. Somebody could have been like, oh no, this happened. Why would you believe that without building a case, without getting investigators? You guys need to protect your people, your crewmates, I should say, until proven guilty, like you said.
Yeah, it was an identical situation with Kentaro Miura's passing and the production of Berserk. Like as I've mentioned, it went on a whole 1 year hiatus before they decided we will finish this in his honor. Like, I don't doubt that that was the initial intention with Ruby and the sake of Montium, but at the same time, Kentaro Miura's creative freedom was never shackled with Berserk. Every idea he ever had, he put into Berserk, and he would give it the time it needed to sink in. Like all of his students at Studio Gaga and his close friend and now supervisor Koji Mori, I cannot thank them enough with the work that they have put in with these so far 15 chapters released since his passing. They have been not only up to par, but sustaining the standard of quality. Like, not once has it dipped, not once has there been any sort of in-studio controversy that has soured me to them. Berserk is still Berserk, as I know it, as I love it, and as I love to read it. I was drinking good when 2 chapters released 2 weeks apart from one another. With the sort of track record Berserk has, you'd be lucky to get a chapter 2 seasons apart from each other. With the track record Berserk has, you'd be lucky if you didn't wait 2.5 years in between chapters. But the delay is never because they weren't working on the manga. It's far from it. The quality of the thing has just gotten to the point where it kind of needs that sort of time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's why I never get upset when I hear that any sort of comic I like is going on to hiatus.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the toll it takes to not only think of an idea, to not only think of a direction, a plot, a sort of world, a way to flesh it out, the characters involved, and to not only illustrate that, but to do so to an art quality that matches your standards, to the point that it borders on perfectionism. Kentaro Miura was very much a perfectionist. He probably would have been content drawing into his 70s if he hadn't passed so young, but that's besides the point. Some of these things are just too important to work on. And for Rooster Teeth, I felt like that importance sort of eroded.
Yeah, vanished, disappeared. And it's rough. It's really rough when we have all this like power, all this knowledge to give to people, but then we
just get in our own ways.
We sure do. We take words from others quicker than the people that we trust the most.
And while they're here, we take their presence for granted. Like, I have no doubt that some of the longer time readers of Berserk were taking every hiatus Miura went on as a sign of disinterest or perhaps a redirection of interests. Like, it's a different case with a manga author like Yoshihiro Togashi and Takehiko Inoue. Togashi, rather than like Hunter x Hunter, the manga he's working on, that has a far simpler art style compared to Berserk, although that isn't to detract from Togashi as an artist. I think he puts up beautiful works, but his physical health has taken a great toll on him, and working on the manga itself does not help with that.
Yeah, especially since if you're writing it, directing it, and then having to draw it, I can see all that stress.
And here's the thing: Togashi doesn't have any students like Miura had. He's doing the entire thing by his own hands.
Yeah, even though isn't it his wife?
His wife is the author of Sailor Moon.
Yeah,
he could be getting help, but the guy is way too stubborn.
Hey, isn't that most guys at this point?
Yeah.
Guilty as charged.
Opposite to that, you have Takehiko Inoue. He is the author of Slam Dunk and Vagabond. I've spoken about Vagabond, and its current hiatus is soon to be coming on 10 years.
Jesus.
10 years since he's last worked on the manga. He has said himself that Vagabond is the greatest thing he has ever worked on. The art I have mentioned is on par with the stuff you would see in museums, in galleries. I think they're that beautiful. But it's because that they're that beautiful that the guy hasn't worked on the thing in almost 10 years now. The guy was a perfectionist to a fault. I think it's to the point where he's intimidated of his own work. But at the same time, in this hiatus, he has been the furthest thing from lazy. He's been keeping himself very busy. Toei Animation, who provided the first season of Transformers, as I mentioned, released a movie that is now available to watch on Netflix called The First Slam Dunk. It is a tie-in to the one saga that the manga never had adapted into an anime. This was essentially finally finishing the job, sealing the deal, leaving the cliffhanger resolved. Like the anime for Slam Dunk in the early 90s didn't get that resolution. It doesn't adapt the entire manga. The rest of it is in this movie, The First Slam Dunk. And here's the kicker. Inoue's the director. The guy is directing an adaptation of his own work, his own anime.
So he knows what to take out.
He knows exactly what he was doing with it, and does so effortlessly. The movie even ends on a freeze frame that he illustrated personally. He was so dedicated to it. I cannot commend the guy enough for being as good as he is with how much that he does. Like, the man has released 2 hit mangas, adapted one's anime adaptation himself. That's so amazing. Like, I mentioned my envy of Clive Barker. Like, if Clive Barker wasn't someone who I badly wanted to trade places with, it would probably be Inoue. And at the same time, if I were Inoue, I'd probably be taking 10 years off of Vagabond too. But at the same time, I would also want to dare any anime studio in the world to adapt the manga, because despite being in publication since 1998, there is yet to be a fully fledged anime of Vagabond. Though this isn't, not all animation studios have been staved off. I may have mentioned once or twice that the studio behind Netflix's Arcane League of Legends, Studio Fortiche, they've expressed interest. They would like to adapt Vagabond.
Oh, okay.
But it is a very tall order. The art style in Vagabond is probably more sophisticated than any manga you've ever seen.
So what they need to do is buy out the rights to do the adaptation.
Yeah, get the rights to the adaptation.
And then hire the people that did what's that anime? Violet Evergreen?
Violet Evergarden? Yeah,
let's
turn the whole thing into a collaborative effort. Yeah, get Studio Mappa, who did Chainsaw Man. Get them involved. Get Studio Madhouse, who did One Punch Man, even though I really question their dedication. Get them involved. Studio Pierrot, who did Bleach and Naruto at the same time. Let's get them involved.
Let's just get everybody involved.
Everybody, collaborative effort. Just for Vagabond. Just for Vagabond.
I feel like it would be too good. I'm not gonna lie.
It would be worth it. There would be nothing else worth watching.
Yeah.
There would be nothing else worth watching if we got an adaptation of Vagabond. And here's the thing. They don't need the entire manga in order to adapt the story, because the story of Vagabond is based off of history, historical events, actual people. It's specifically drawn off of a 1,500-page book released in 1939. It's called Musashi, and it is still in publication to this day. Musashi Miyamoto was a legendary samurai during Japan's feudal era. He spent his entire life perfecting a two-katana martial art. He fought in over 63 duels, and not once did he lose. That is legendary. That is worth getting a book. That is worth getting a movie. That is worth getting a manga like Vagabond. And that's even worth getting
adaptation.
That's even worth showing up in a video game adaptation of Onimusha, which has nothing to do with your life, but you're in it anyway because you're just that legendary. Musashi Miyamoto is Japan's version of Billy the Kid.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, like how Billy the Kid was probably our most legendary cowboy in American history. Musashi is probably the textbook definition of a samurai.
I got a question. If you could have an adaptation of any of the books that you wrote, which adaptation would you do?
Probably the one I'm working on right now.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say it would be a tie between Golden High and then We Are Heroes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that we're working on.
That's the one that we've been collaborating on.
Because I would love to just see it like all flowing, or even see it as a manga. Because then,
yeah, I love working on that. But the one that I'm working on right now is the one that I've been getting the most amount of ideas for. I've sprung a leak, and it's been coming so naturally. Like I reformatted some of my earlier stories. They go from 124 pages to 87 pages. And in the same format, in this current story that I'm working on, I'm already on 54 pages. And here's the thing, I'm only about 30% of the way through, and I also have a sequel planned for it.
Let's go. Yeah. You should do a random page of your story and just post it in the community tab.
I'd be happy to.
I'll do the same thing with one of my favorite pages on Golden High.
That'd be
and we got to see, you guys are the votes. You hit the like button on his page.
Your voice matters. Your voice matters here.
I'm going to share this in my channel and my Discord. So we got more people, more votes. We're not going to say whose page is whose, though. All right?
Yeah. The working title for this book that I have, that I eventually plan on franchising into a duology, is Rapture of the Great Abyss. It is my idealistic dark fantasy with species like humans, ogres, pixies, goblins, elves, and essentially sort of reinvent the sort of standards of expectations with them. Like the entire thesis of this first book is nobody's able to use magic anymore, so everybody's going to war with one another. Mm-hmm. And that's going to lead into a mystery as to why.
All right. Well, we should wrap it up with that question there. Please, guys, hit that like button, subscribe, go check out.
It means the world.
Go check out his channel because he is an amazing
Check out me. I am the dude. Check out him, the crazy reptile.
I also got a camera on my streams now, so you'll see this lovely face a little bit more. But I'm excited for when we both play Final Fantasy 15 because that's going to be straight.
That's going to be special.
I'm going to be screaming a lot.
That's going to be special. I don't doubt that.
You're like, I need help. All right. Well, thank you guys for stopping on by. Please let us know what you would like us to touch on because we would love to hear from you.
Provide your opinions. Anything that could get the ball rolling, we'd love to. And there goes my train of thought.
Yeah, I couldn't pick up what you was trying to say.
Yeah. Put the snowball on the top of the hill, and we can get it rolling downhill.
All right. This is HD Synergy
signing off. Now the stream in the books.